Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Sky Blue Fans TV. My name's Mark Smith. I'm proud to say our podcast is sponsored by Sky Blue Tavern, Dylan's Brewery, IP Lucy Designs, CCFC Fan Store, CCFC Prints, Mr. View Sky, and A Hawks Photography. Tonight, I've been joined by my colleague Miles, who's bring on. Evening, Miles. How are we doing?
Good evening, Mark. How are you? I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm good.
I see you've made central news with your appearance talking about the ground situation. I must ask for your autograph next time I see you.
That'll be Saturday, won't it?
Yeah, I'll be seeing you Saturday, yeah. So tonight we'll be talking about the great 1-0 win against Blackburn Rovers. We've got a Watford guest coming on later to talk about Watford and give us a lowdown on our opposition on Saturday. So let's start, Miles. Let's talk about the win. A great win overall. Before we talk about the actual game itself, start the game. 3 changes were made. Carl Mafadine was missing, obviously, with sickness. But we did have returns with Gyökeres, Eccles, and Rose as the team. When you saw that team come up, what was your sort of first impressions?
I was happy with the team news, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm quite pleased with the way Eccles is performing at the moment. I could see why he swapped him with Kane, because Kane can get a bit too far forward and get caught flat-footed. He can't turn quick enough to get back, and I think when you're playing against Diaz, like Eccles had to cope with, I think Eccles was the right decision, because he doesn't always go too far forward all the time. He sort of knows when to go and when not to go. So I was all right with that one, to be honest with you. Mafadine, I thought he was going to start, but obviously he had a high temperature, and that was at the last minute, just before the game. So that's understandable. It's just straightforward replacement. Doyle, and who's come in, has done very, very well. I think Mark Robins did the right call back against Cardiff, where he knew he was struggling for 23 minutes and pulled him off. So I think that did Doyle a lot of good, gave him a little bit of a rest, and he's come back fighting and strong. And I thought he had a really good performance. So yeah, the changes were all right for me, really, to be honest with you. And then Gyökeres coming in, that's obvious he was going to come back into the team, because he was poorly last week, so you can't risk it. And, the only person to drop really is Casey Palmer, because the way Allen's playing at the moment, scored, I think it's 2 goals in the last 4 games for Jamie Allen, which is absolutely superb. So, yeah, I was quite pleased with that, to be honest with you, Mark.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I came to the game, Blackburn, and I was very pessimistic about, how our chances were. I thought, well, could players still be ill after the Blackpool game? And, we're playing against a team that are, second in the league. So on paper, it looks a really, really hard game. But I thought we acquitted ourselves really well in the first half. I thought we looked like, if anything, we looked like the team that are near the top of the league, and Blackburn were struggling, because I thought Blackburn, for me, were pretty awful. And they were very direct. There was no kind of, obviously the game plan looked to me like they were looking to put Diaz on Eccles, wasn't it? Because you saw Diaz was playing a lot, sort of kind of pulling it out wide left. And I feel like they were trying to expose Eccles. I thought in the main, you could see Eccles is not a natural right back. That's not his position. I think he's a fantastic field player, and he's playing out of position. I thought he'd done okay overall. Not probably not as good at Dabo, but you don't expect him to be. But I thought the whole team really on that night were fantastic, from goalkeeper down to centre forward. I thought we played really well. It was just a massive improvement. It was like chalk and cheese from Blackpool, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the way we won that game the other night was the old way we used to play. We were passing the ball. We hardly gave the ball away. Sheaf was intercepting absolutely everything that tried to come through the middle. He was picking it up. He was running with it. You had Doyle running with it. You had Panzo running with it. I think Panzo got man of the match, which was well deserved. I thought it was a real tight call on Tuesday night. And when we pass the ball and we're crisp with those passes and we don't give it away, we're good enough to play anyone off the park, and we know that. And I think the pitch had a big part to play the other night as well, because it had some water on it. It's been repaired. There hasn't been any rugby on it for 2 weeks, and it was moving a lot quicker than it has done in previous weeks. I think the grass looked a bit shorter, so that they've obviously cut it a little bit shorter for us, which suits the style of our play. We were, as I say, we were just passing the ball so crispy and so smooth. It was just a great performance. I mean, first half probably the best performance of the season so far, easily by far.
Yeah,
No doubt about it. Absolutely superb.
Yeah.
Second half, they had no choice. They had to come at us, but we coped with it really well. And I mean, young Eccles, you go on to him. I mean, he slots into that right back position. I think he's quite comfortable when he starts getting into the game. He starts looking really comfortable, really enjoys himself. He made one silly mistake Tuesday in the first half. He dived in at Diaz. He didn't stand up. He dived in at him.
Yeah.
And I thought, what you doing? Don't, that schoolboy error. You always taught stand up, don't go down. That was probably his only mistake. And Ben Sheaf for me the other night, well, I think that's got to be his best performance in a Coventry City shirt at home since he's joined us.
Yeah.
I thought he was absolutely immense. And I mean, I thought he was absolutely immense. And it could have been more. It could have been more, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It probably could have been 3, maybe 4. We should have had a penalty. Vic got pulled in the box again in the first half.
Yeah.
Blatant shirt pulling. But yeah, fantastic performance. Every single player probably deserves 8, 9 out of 10. All of them on Tuesday night. They were up for that Tuesday night. They really were. It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with that. I thought it was such an improved performance. I agree with what you say about Panzo. I thought Panzo was immense. But I thought, to be honest with you, to a man, I wouldn't say there was a man of the match from our side. I think it was a men of the match. I thought the whole 11 were really good, actually. And also the other thing of Eccles is he provided that goal for Jamie Allen. I thought was a well worked goal and a really good finish by Allen. And I think one of the things I feel Allen's improved from last season. I don't know what your thoughts are, Miles. Is he's getting into better positions attacking wise. He's made, he's sort of going Stoke. He made a good run for the goal. He's got himself in a good position on near post, and he's volleyed it in beautifully. I think he's actually been one of our most improved players, this season. I don't know what your thoughts are, Alan.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's a good player. His 2 goals he scored have been very well taken. I mean, the other night we were sat there. One of our watchers now has just commented, Richard, it is a hot drink, by the way, Rich. We couldn't get any hot drinks at half time. I don't know what was going on.
Yeah.
We were kept saying in the first half, Bidwell kept floating the ball. And you're like, no, not in this conditions. It's nice and slippery, hard and low into the box. And lo and behold, Alan just hooks onto one at the near post. And it's gone in. The only criticism I have about Alan, and I've said it a number of times now, is that he sort of stops between the halfway line and the 18-yard box where O'Hare, Palmer, they keep running, they keep putting the pressure on. I mean, Tuesday night, the amount of pressure, the high press we put on Blackburn, we didn't give them 2 seconds to even think about where to pass the ball. They had no time because O'Hare was on it. O'Hare's pouncing on everything. And when O'Hare's playing like that, I think it reflects onto Victor. Victor puts in a shift a bit more, pushes forward a bit more. But with Alan, for me, it's a really frustrating thing. I just wish he'd take the gamble like O'Hare does and just go that little bit further than stopping between the halfway line and the 18-yard box. He just gives up a little bit. He's scared to go that little bit further to put the high press on. And I think if we had 3 players putting the press on, like we did in the second half when Palmer came on, we put even more pressure on and we could have scored again. And when you've got three players like Vic, like O'Hare and Palmer putting that pressure on, they've got nowhere to go. They can't play the ball. And all the keeper can do is just hoof it. And then the next thing it's coming back in. So, Alan, I agree with you. He's been absolutely superb this season, to be honest with you. And I think he's played every game, hasn't he?
I think he has, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's played every game.
He's not been on the bench.
No.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Glenn, I don't know if you can hear us. Which player stood out for you on Tuesday night?
I think it's hard to pick anyone out, really. I agree with what Miles said. I think they all played well. I think we played, to coin a Robin's phrase, on the front foot, and we got in their faces. And I think it all started from that little one where the goalkeeper, they did that silly back pass and the goalkeeper nearly give it to O'Hare, and then O'Hare just tried to take a touch rather than just smashing it. And they just look so shaky. They looked exactly how we looked against Blackpool and against Rotherham. They just look jittery and nervous, and we rather than the last two home games where we kind of handed the opposition the initiative by not starting well, we started really in their faces. And I think he didn't admit it after the game, John Dale Thomason, but I think he got the team wrong. I think the two lads in midfield, although they're very good, Morton and Wharton, they were a bit young, and I think our midfield four not bullied them, but we kind of schooled them a bit. Hamer was class again. Alan, at least he gets in the box now, which is the one good thing. But he could have had a hat trick. I mean, that one second half, is he unlucky because the keeper's just stuck his arms up, or do you just stick it better first touch, half a yard either side, he scores? O'Hare's had two where he's taken a touch where he's got no need to take a touch in it first time. Yeah, we were really on it. We made them look bang average, which I think probably is good. I think they had a bad night at the office, but we were really good. And we look back on it now, and there's plenty of positives moving forward. And it's hard to pick anyone out as a man of the match. They all did the jobs.
Yeah, it was just a really good performance. It's just I think we're all after the Blackpool game a bit kind of. I mean, to be fair, I think the Blackpool game was one of them games, looking back, where knowing the circumstances, you can sort of, if we'd have got a draw out of the game, I think it would have been really, really pleased with that. But I thought, the performance on Tuesday night was fantastic. And I thought we looked like we're a team in control. We didn't I just thought we looked a much different side. We look a side, to me, if we keep playing like that, we're going to win a lot more games than we lose. We're going to pick up more points than we lose. And I think it definitely gives us a lot of cause for optimism, particularly when you've got a game coming up next in Watford, who are probably, in my opinion, I know they're in the playoffs, but I would probably say they'll be top two at the end of the season. So I think it's so important that we got that win to give us that confidence, because I just, I don't feel, I feel a bit more optimistic about Saturday now after that, because I just thought we were really good. And I thought Blackburn, for me, if they're second in the league, I mean, that's probably the worst teams I've seen that are second in the league at the stadium. I don't know what your thoughts were. I thought they were pretty shocking, really. I don't know what they were doing.
I thought Rotherham and Blackpool were miles better than them. And I think we've got to be realistic. Yeah. Rotherham had gone to Burnley last night, and for 90 minutes, they were winning the game, and then they've got done in injury time. I mean, they're no mugs. And Blackpool, they've beat some good sides. They beat Watford not long ago. So I think we just got to be careful that it's Rotherham, it's Blackpool. They're no mugs. Like I said, there's no easy games in this league at the moment. And it's a massive win because it's bumped us up the table, and we've got some good points. But really, Saturday's a free hit. Saturday is anything we get from them is a bonus. Wigan is massive. Wigan is a 6-pointer. Wigan's the game we have not to lose. We've got to get something. And then QPR, it's about time we beat them because we owe them one. But I think we're really happy if we can get somewhere near 20. If we can get 25 points mark around that, I'll be delighted where we were. But I don't think we were that bad on Saturday. Looking back, we had 3 good chances, and then they scored the goal. We take any one of those 3 chances, we're 2-1 up, and I think we see it out. And but we were a lot better on Tuesday night, and Vic looked a bit more on it, but he doesn't get any decisions. I beg a belief.
Yeah. I mean, the penalty decision, as Miles mentioned earlier, was just a disgrace. I mean, to me, I watched it on TV. It was the most blatant of pulls at the shirt. The only thing I could think of is maybe it's the way that he goes down and that makes him think, oh, he's kind of trying to con the referee. But for me, that was an absolute
If you fall
disgrace.
backwards, Mark, your instinct is to put your arms out. You're going to brace yourself. You don't fall backwards like a tree falling down, do you? You're immediately going to do that. So,
Yeah.
but there was other ones where Hyam was pulling him, and it was just weird because then he give one against Eccles on Diaz. There was less contact, and the classic one was the one on the last kick of the game where I think it's Ayala's cleaned out Walker. He didn't book Ayala, and Walker's clean through on goal, and then he booked the goalkeeper, and then they've rescinded the red card, which I don't get because the guy's got in 2-footed. I don't understand that.
What was your views, Miles, on that? Was that a red card in your view?
He's gone over the top of the ball, hasn't he? I mean, the way we are, we didn't go down. We sort of jumped out the way of it. So he's gone over the top of the ball. It could have been really dangerous. As for them rescinding the red card, if that was us, we'd just take it on the chin and we wouldn't even bother. Because that's the sort of manager we've got is Mark Robbins. He goes, oh, it's a red card. We won't bother. We won't even bother having a go try and rescind it. After looking at the replay, probably it was a yellow. But in real time, like the ref would have seen it, it did look dangerous. He went over the top of the ball. So on the night, red card, yeah. But if you had VAR, probably change it to a yellow if he had already give the red. So, probably, I don't know. It's just one of those. I just wish that we would when we get players sent off, I wish we would complain and try and get it rescinded, but we don't. I want to go on what Glenn's just said about Hamer and that. Hamer hasn't been booked since he's come back, touch wood. And he's a better player for it. He's calmed himself down. He's obviously had a word with himself. And for me, I think he's a better player because he's not making rash, silly chances. I think he's just concentrating on his game more. And he's turning out to be probably better than we've ever seen him in the last 3 or 4 games since he's come back. And I think the game, was it the Rotherham game? He was on the bench. You can't just walk straight back into a team. And I think that's probably done him good as well, which everyone said you can't just walk straight back into a team just because you're Hamer. If you're banned for 4 matches, you've let the team down for 4 matches. So that's probably done him good. And, I think, he's a different player since he's come back. But another thing that Glenn said about Walker, he got pulled down in the box. It was right in front of us. Should have been, that was probably another penalty we should have had. But the thing about Walker is he's so frustrating. Just towards the end, he was at a tight angle in the box, and really he should have just put his laces through it and have a go at goal. He's got nothing to lose. The lad, he's not scoring. He hasn't scored. He scored 2 goals last season, and he had a chance to have a go at goal, and he's gone to square it to, I think it was Vic in the middle, and the defender's blocked it. Well, you've got to be thinking the defender's going to slide in on this. Let's just have a pop at goal. He could have gone anywhere, just have a go. The poor lad. I mean, I'm holding my hand up. I criticise him every week. If he comes on, I hold my head in my hands and I'm like, here comes Walker. He's so frustrating. And we know he's got talent. And Tuesday night, he should have had a go. And if he had got that goal Tuesday night, it would have gave him a lot more confidence. He sort of picked up the ball and he's gone, I don't know what to do. And he's a goal scorer. I mean, we've seen it. He scored at Blackburn last season. He scored at Preston. Goal at Preston last season was absolutely superb from him. It's just frustrating. But, it was, again with Glenn, the Blackpool game, I thought it was a good game as well. So, happy days.
I mean, it's just lack of confidence there of Walker, isn't it? I think he's just a striker that he has a lot of game time in his defence. And, it's just one of those things, really.
But you say game time. you've got to earn the right to get the game time.
True.
And when he comes on, even if it is for 5-10 minutes, when he comes on, he doesn't show anything. There's no you need coming up to bonfire night. He needs a rocket up his backside to kick him on. You're not gonna. Okay, he might shine in training, but the thing is, he ain't getting game time. There's a reason why he's not getting game time. He's not good enough. He's not. Well, he is good enough, but he's not showing everyone that he's good enough. And Mark Robbins says how good he is in training. Well, if you're good in training, do it on the pitch. And he's not.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And you know, it gets people's backs up and things like that. And as I say, I'll hold my hand up. I'm one of them. I'm terrible about him. I'm absolutely terrible. When he come on the other night, I was like, oh, no, here we go, 20 minutes. We've got to hold out for 18, 20 minutes with him on the pitch. And that's the feeling.
And also, just to add to that, with Walker, he's out of contract into the season. So he's got to do everything he can to earn that contract.
Yeah.
You know, there's no hiding place. I mean, I think with when he was at Portsmouth last season on loan, I think Portsmouth fans were a bit kind of, you know, they were expecting a lot of big things from him, and it never really materialised. And I think, ideally, from our point of view, we could have done with Walker banging a few goals with Portsmouth, and then we could have got a sell-on fee potentially. But now we're in a situation where, you know, we have to make a decision about him into the season. I mean, obviously, he's not the only player. There's other players who are out of contract at the end of the season, but he's got a really grasped opportunity because, you know, Matty Gobb's not going to be back anytime soon. Tavares is the only other player, and obviously there's been rumours about Biarma as well, obviously, which is interesting. But Tavares is another one. You think, if you're Tavares, you think, what have I got to do to get a game? I mean, do you think Tavares could be featuring more, in your opinion? And Glenn, feel free to chime in as well.
Tavares, I think I'm two minds. I'm tempted on Saturday to rest a few, and there's an argument you give Tavares some time. The only thing is, I don't think Tavares and Walker will work, and I don't think Tavares is a lone striker, personally. So I don't think that'll work. But I would definitely be tempted Walker start on Saturday and give Vic a rest. Ultimately, I think Walker. But the problem is, Miles, look at it this way: if we lose Vic on Saturday, Wigan's massive, and I think we've got to manage his minutes. And I think the same with O'Hare. I don't think O'Hare will start on Saturday. I think Palmer will come in, and I think we've just got to be streetwise. Obviously, going on what you said about Biarma, you get like various opinions in our fan base. I totally see the logic. If we could get him, we get him on. We've got 4 weeks in the World Cup break to get him up to speed. He can play a couple of under 23, under 21 games. We know what we're going to get with him. He'll put himself about. He'll do the stuff that possibly Walker doesn't do. But obviously Walker's on pedigree, he's got the better finishing record. But he's played well with Vic. He's played well with Walker. He's played well with Godden. I think he's possibly played with Tavares. So you know what you're going to get. I can see the logic on it. It's just whether we can sign him and whether it is people putting 2 and 2 together to make 5. But he's actually what we need. We need someone who can, as an outball off the bench for 20 minutes, he can hold the board up for us and we can feed off. Because Vic was good at it to a degree on Tuesday night, but he did get roughed up a bit, and I don't think he's as good as holding it up as, say, Max is, so to speak.
Well, interesting things to come. So what we'll do now is we're just going to bring an advert out, and then we'll be bringing Pete on, Watford fans. So stay tuned for that. We'll be talking all things Watford and the game on Saturday. So be back very, very shortly. Welcome back, everyone. Okay, I'm going to introduce our Watford fan, Pete. Watford fan. Hi, Pete. How you doing?
Oh yeah, very good, thank you. Very good indeed.
Good.
Thank you for having me on.
That's all right. Yeah. Tell us about your podcast and just give us a bit more of the lowdown on yourself.
Well, I started off a thing about 18 months ago called Ewan's TV, but since then I've really kind of morphed into, with another two guys, Justin and Cole, into a thing called Do Not Scratch Your Eyes, which is, probably not dissimilar to yourself, but it's a podcast. There's YouTube, there's Instagram, there's you name it, and it's just gone over the last 9 months. It's just gone kind of exponential, which is great stuff. So
yeah. And let's look at the football side of it. So Watford coming to the game on the back of 3 wins, and things are sort of going quite nice under Slaven Bilic.
Yeah, I mean, when we fired our latest manager, I mean, when you use the phrase "when we fired our latest" and you're using it every 2 months, it gets a little bit dull and repetitive. None of the problems that we had were aimed at Bilic. He's an incredibly competent manager. We're very delighted to have him. Our kind of upset was the fact that at the time Rob Edwards signalled, supposedly, according to our management and our hierarchy, a change in attitude and direction and culture, and then 10 games in, they fired him and just went with the new bloke. At the end of the day, we then went back to exactly what we know, which is effectively it's hard for Watford fans to get a really good connection to the players and to the manager. Definitely the manager, because he's there, literally for a couple of months. Normally when people say a season, they don't normally mean autumn. And in our case, we tend to. So that's been good. Bilic, he's been kind of binary. We've either won or we've lost. He came in, we beat Stoke 4-0, and it looked like everything was going to go rosy in the garden. We had one of our players who you won't face on Saturday, Imran Louza, came back from injury, who's a little kind of Moroccan-French midfielder, and he kind of just suddenly, he felt like he was the oil in the engine and everything was ticking, everything was good. But the majority of the reason why that was good was because Stoke were absolutely rank awful. Sorry, they just were. Then we lost 2 on the spin to Swansea at home, and Blackpool away. Blackpool just, we were just shocking. We were absolutely dreadful against them. And fair play to Blackpool, because they saw it and turned on us and came at us in the second half. And nobody gives an underperforming team confidence like Watford turning up with our defence. But in fairness, we beat Norwich. We lost a dreadful game against Millwall, again almost like Blackpool revisited. But since then we've had these 3 straight wins, and it's looking a lot better. It's looking a lot more organised, and a certain sense of belief. And what's kind of strange is the fact that we've won the last 2 games without Keenan Davis, who we got on loan from Villa, who has been really the talismanic forward that you can kind of go and play off of. So without him in the team, we just don't progress up the field, because we get the ball played up, we lose it, and then it's coming back at us again. With him, he's a potentially phenomenal player if we can keep him fit. Unfortunately, he's missed the last 2 games. Hopefully, he will be ready and available for Saturday.
Oh, that's a shame. I was hoping he could still be injured, bit of mine.
We thought he was going to be available for last night against Cardiff, and he wasn't. So so we'll see. We do have a medical department who seem to get, like, if you've ever seen Spinal Tap, feet and inches get mixed up. They have weeks and months and years mixed up in their head sometimes. Somebody goes in with a cold, and 4 years later you go, "Oh, Tom Cleverley, I remember him." Yeah.
How's Ismail Assar looking? Because he's been the subject of a lot of speculation with transfer gossip and that. I mean, is he looking the business for you at the moment?
Well, just before you went into the break, I was just listening to the 2 of you talking about, I didn't catch who it was, but saying about if he does it on the training field, he's got to do it in games. And that's pretty much the thing with Ismail Assar. Most people turn around and say, João Pedro and Ismail Assar are the 2 players we've got to worry about. Ismail Assar, you have to worry about for 3 minutes in a game. The other 87 minutes, forget about it. If we could get somebody who could make him play for 10 minutes a game, he would be unfathomably brilliant. It's stopping him in that 3 minutes if he decides he's going to do something. I mean, he got a goal yesterday, didn't know necessarily very much about it, so he's in the good place. The real star of the show is João Pedro, who's this 21-year-old Brazilian who we've had for 3 years. and he came in like a lot of 17-year-old Brazilians, like we get a lot of those in Watford, obviously, who came in and he hadn't developed, and now he's this kind of 6'2", strong, technically brilliant, kind of has an ability to kind of come out with the ball where you just go, what? How did you do that? And he's got that appetite and hunger whereby everybody says, yeah, can he do it on Stoke on a Saturday? This kid basically is up for the fight all the time. He is going to be genuinely. We thought at one stage we were going to lose him in the close season to Newcastle, and we were all gutted about that because we thought, oh damn, people haven't read the headlines, don't they know they should go and buy Sarr? We've fortunately kept them both, so that's good. Sarr can just flatter to deceive. That's the problem. When he's on it, he's unstoppable. Getting him on it is the issue and the problem.
I suppose your highlight, your best win this season has to be against the team up the road at the M1. I guess you were pretty phenomenal against Luton.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, it was 25 years to the month that we did them at their place 4-0 under Graham Taylor in his second era with us, and to do it again. But that was the start of our 3-game run. And we'd lost those other games, etc. We were so, and we still are really so Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, the last 2 games we haven't played particularly well, but we've got a little bit of determination, grit, and kind of resilience about us. But against Luton, he'd switched Ken Sema, who would typically play left. We're playing a 4-2-3-1 under Bilic. He would typically play Sema because he's very left-sided down the left and Sarr on the right. He switched them, so he's inverted them, and it has brought an awful lot more out, unfortunately for you guys, at home from Sarr, because he has the ability to cut in and suddenly do something, whereas before people would go, no, you're not going to go down the line. He'd cut in and then the ball would invariably get played back. Now he's got an ability to pull in and dink the ball. He did that for Rennes, and he does it a lot for Senegal as well. But it's taken us 3 years to decide to actually switch him. But that's what we're seeing with Bilic. We're seeing that he's working out what he's got. He's working out how best to use it. And in the last couple of games, what we're seeing is the in-game management, the substitutions really make a telling difference. Yeah. We've got a player who we'd signed in January, a guy called Kalu. And I mean, everybody said he looks about 42. He's supposed to be 24, but he's got that special kind of Nigerian kind of date of birth that Kanu once had, But he just looked all out of shape. We just didn't get anything from him. And then he brought him on, and he's brought him on in bits and pieces. And you've gone, okay, he's actually quite useful. And he brought him on. He won the corner. And the other substitute put the delivery in, and João Pedro got the goal. So Bilic has got an awful lot of goodwill towards him because he's just managing games and talking sense in his post-match conferences, as opposed to Roy Hodgson, who we had last year, along with 15 home defeats out of 19 games. So it's nice being back in the Championship. I have to say, gents, it's nice to be here.
Yeah. No, I hope it won't be too nice on Saturday. But anyway, what changes? So just let's talk about Cardiff yesterday. 2-1 win. Obviously, you came from behind. What was the performance like from Watford? Was it an easy win, or was it a tough win, or how did the game go? I've seen the goals on Sky and that, but I didn't really see the 90 minutes.
We conceded a ball from a set play, which was just dreadful lack of marking, absolute free header, and it's something that we do have we've got centre backs, kind of, I suppose 4 and 6 available, if you will. However, in fairness, they haven't done too bad. But then we got ourselves back in again with another set piece, and we scored the winner with a set piece. Now, literally, I mean, it went up on our socials. My God, we scored 2 corners from one game. We can't remember the last time we'd done that. But actually, we had done, but it's a dim and distant memory for us. No, I think we managed the game well again. It's a delight to see, not just from Wigan on the previous Saturday, where the aforementioned Kalu got injured when he kind of set the corner up, and kind of as the goal got scored, he then sat down and he slowed it down, and it's all of that, it's all of that stuff that everybody moans about the rivals, that you're going, good, there's 2 minutes left to play, just sit and kill it for a minute, get them organised. And last night the equivalent of that was basically we had the subs, and he basically did them in the 90th minute thereafter, and just killed the momentum of the game. So we're pleased with that. We've got we look dangerous down the left hand side, especially because you've got a guy called Hassan Kamara, who was last year's player of the season, even though we only bought him in January. But he did enough in that 6 months to be better than all the rest through 12. In the season we had, it said, it speaks well of everything. So that was that, and him now partnering with Sarr, because Sarr can cut inside and create the opportunity for the overlap, because Kamara's just got an absolute engine on him. Down the right-hand side, you've got the aforementioned Ken Sema, who can do the same. He can cut in with his left. And we love Sema. He's got about 5 or 6 assists this season. So he's one of those kind of goes under the radar because of everybody else who's out and available in the team. And we've got, it'll be interesting. We've got Dan Gosling, the old Everton, Newcastle and Bournemouth player, who has been in midfield on occasions. He played last night in midfield, but prior to that, he was playing at right back as a bit of a kind of a make weight, but one who'd done so well that he was keeping the natural right back, Mario Gaspar, who used to be with Villarreal, on the bench. He came in yesterday because the thing that hopefully will give, not hopefully at all from our point, but from your point of view, is we have got an injury list like a phone book. At this moment in time, we are really down to the last knock-ins in midfield and at the back. It's kind of that we don't have, we're not able to use that depth because Loser, who came back against Stoke, is already out again. He was out, he came back, looked brilliant for 4 games and is out. But we do have, we can't feel too sorry for ourselves. We've still got little players like a little lad called Yasser Asprilla, who only played for about a minute yesterday, which means he'll probably get a run out. And he's one of these, he looks like a 12-year-old soaking wet, in the kit. And he's a young Colombian, and he is exceptional. And you just go, how did we get this kid? He's fantastic. He's really going to blossom into something coming forward. So when João Pedro finally kind of moves on to Newcastle or whichever Arab state has bought a club at that particular point, he'll be the next one through to kind of lead the next charge, along with another Brazilian that we've got queued up to come in, apparently, called Matias Martins. We seem to have a good tie-in with Fluminense in Brazil, because that's where Richarlison's, where João Pedro, and where this Martins is coming from. So, but he's not there yet, so you don't have to worry about him.
He's not related to Faustino Asprilla, is he? He's
not. But he looks like I was going to say a young Phil Foden, because Phil Foden's 87, isn't he? He looks like almost like a not Poundland even, but just a kind of a lower budget South American Phil Foden. You just see his brain operating at a different pace, and that he can kind of do little interplays. The problem has been, even with him in the team, is he's only 5'6", what have you. We've got Hamza Chowdhury coming back tomorrow. He was out because of a 5th yellow card yesterday, who will get through a lot of work rate in the midfield. And you've got a guy called Edo Kiembe, who will basically do anything you want, providing he doesn't have to touch the ball with his right foot. He's a more left-sided player you have never seen. But he can be okay. He can be a bit, kind of lukewarm water for you on occasions. But sometimes we can be dominated in the middle if you kind of get about us. But if we haven't got Keenan Davis up front as that holding player, then a lot of the good work that the aforementioned Pedro, Yasser Asprilla, Sarr, and Ken Sema would do in order to play the ball in and then go and look for the return ball, it breaks down. Our sub striker, who's played for the last 2 games, but just doesn't do the same job as a guy called Bio. And Vacuum Bio. He's weighed in with some goals, and he looks like he'll be a useful kind of super sub kind of person, because he'll come on, he'll run around, he'll get into places, but holding up the ball, that's not really what they specialised in Belgium. So that's just not what he does.
So from Watford's point of view, I guess one definitely change. Davis comes into the Bio. Any other changes you think from Cardiff game, or in terms of formation, maybe?
Well, I think Hamza Chowdhury will come in for certain, which I imagine would probably see Gosling return to right back, because Mario Gaspar has been a bit a bit unconvincing, should we say? I don't think he'll keep his place and chuck Gosling out. And Gosling he's one of the people who kind of saber rattles and gets everybody going. So I think that would be the case. I think the thing about Bilic now is that I think he knows what his best 11 is, or he knows what his best 13 is. He knows what his shape is, so to speak. It's just about getting what he has available into that. And if Davis comes in, then I think it'll be an interesting game. That'd be my thoughts.
Yeah. So bring back Miles. You've heard the Watford point of view. From our point of view, if you're Mark Robins preparing a team for this game, what changes would you make for Watford?
Well, I mean, Glenn was saying earlier on, bring Walker in for Vic. After sitting here thinking about listening to Watford, maybe take the gamble with Tavares and try and hit him with a bit of pace. But I can't see him doing that, to be honest. I can't see him gambling on it. I think maybe we'll probably go there to hold out for the first half and see if we can not concede a goal for the first half, and then come out all guns blazing in the second half like we did at Stoke. They went in at half time and we kept it at 0-0. Stoke was sort of on top of us a little bit, but that was because we kept giving the ball away too much. But I think, if we can put in a performance like we did Tuesday night, where we're not giving the ball away, I think it could be a pretty entertaining game both ways, end to end, to be honest with you. I have got a question for Pete, actually. Pete, is there a reason why you owners can't just stick with one man? We've stuck with ours for 5 years, and we'll go on a run like we did at the end of last season. I think we only won a few games out of the last 14 games. I mean, what's the cut there then with the owners? I mean, what's it all about?
It's a strange one, because if you look at Watford and our natural place in the natural order of things, prior to the Pozzos arriving, we'd had one glorious period in the 80s and the late 70s, but in the 80s when we got up into the top flight, and we had 6 years in the top flight. Graham Taylor, who just at the club is just a right fitting genius, and there's a statue outside of him and all, and quite right. We never managed to repeat that. We'd get up to the Premier League and we'd bomb. We get up to the Premier League, we bomb, and we did it like 3 times, but nothing was ever happening. The Pozzos came in and they adopted this model, and they, in fairness, they brought in players that we just went, oh my God, how have we got them playing for Watford? And if you compare the season before and the season after they arrived, it was like, wow, what we're watching is tremendous. But it comes with this price, which is that it's their belief that a manager at a club like Watford, in the vicinity where we are, we're a commuter belt, of London town. If two things will happen when we get a coach or a manager in. He will either succeed, in which case he'll get poached, like we saw with Marco Silva. Everton came sniffing after 9 games and he down tools. Or it's not going to work, and then we need to change runners and riders because we need to kind of move forward. What they did to compensate for this is they ensured that each season, and they look at it and they use the word project, and a lot of football fans don't like the word project being used. We've got used to it. But their project would be that we will assemble the squad, which you will be the head coach for. The word manager, other than Roy Hodgson, got thrown away. After Roy Hodgson, the manager word has been completely thrown away. He was a disaster with bells on. And but what they would do is they would assemble a squad that they would work with, and it worked really well until 3 years ago. And 3 years ago, it just kind of went off the rails. We had the FA Cup final. A warning sign may have been the fact that we'd lost it 6-0 to Man City, other than the fact that we'd also lost 8-0 the previous year anyway. You've got to accept that suddenly you're a very small fish in a ridiculous sized pond when you have that. But at the time, supposedly some financial agreements, some contract promises were not upheld. Bonuses potentially was also mentioned. And a lot of the players who'd come along to Watford as part of this Pozzo model as a stepping stone, i.e. I'm going to come and play for Watford. We're going to have 2 seasons. I'm going to keep you up. We're going to do well for the club. And then I'll get my move to, invariably Everton always comes sniffing. But, ideally a top six club or Everton. And, that sort of got fractured, and people they didn't down tools, but they weren't flying around at 100%, because why am I I'm on a 5-year contract here? Why am I doing that to stay here longer? So that went wrong, and we just saw this succession of changes. And so the fan base has really kind of shifted to the point whereby this was our second relegation, and it was absolute mirror image of the first one that we had in 1920, which was we had a young manager who one lasted 7 games, one lasted 4 games. We then brought in a reasonably experienced foreign coach, Quique Sanchez Flores, Claudio Ranieri. They didn't work. We changed to a British coach, Nigel Pearson, Roy Hodgson. Both of them exactly the same. You couldn't have written it. Even and all the while the club saying we've learnt lessons, we've realised what we shouldn't have done, and we won't repeat that. Well, they did it absolutely verbatim. So the common consensus was, look, your model is kind of broken, and therefore there was a big call for there to be a young, innovative, ideally British manager, somebody that we could kind of attach ourselves to. We've had not that anybody will have ever heard of him, but we had Walter Mazzari for one of our seasons where we finished 17th, having been 11th in January, and then they just went, we're on 40 points, just down tools. We didn't win another point for the rest of the year. He was horrific, and the club wanted a big ambassador. Marco Silva comes in, Marco Silva goes out. This year, the ambassador was going to be this gentleman, Rob Edwards. Very, very handsome gentleman, just won League Two, loads of kind of little, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Little similarities to Graham Taylor when we brought him in the 70s. He'd just won the 4th tier, the Division 4 at the time. And so it was like, this is going well. The football didn't do any great shakes, but he only lost 2 games. Granted, he only won 3 games, but it was like, oh God, we've changed him. And there was a real level of upset there. And the upset is because we were promised a change of culture by the CEO and chairman. And it showed that basically it didn't matter what the CEO and chairman says. If the owner says, I didn't want this in the first place, which is what the rumours were, I wanted my man, which would have been Slaven Bilic, I'm going to go and get him. So a lot of supporters are committing themselves or kind of at least surrendering themselves to saying, okay, well, if you're going to kind of decide that success of the manager is solely rated on results, then we're going to rate you solely based upon results then, Mr. Chairman. Because that's all you're doing. So why should we be any different? Don't get me wrong. The Pozzo family have been fabulous for Watford. The stadium, if you haven't been down to it, is spick and span. It's lovely. They've done some good things with the community throughout the pandemic. They were fantastic because we've got the hospital right next door. It was wonderful. But all of that goodwill has just ebbed away through a lot of mismanagement and a lot of strange stuff which you'll feel very sensitive to, about money, about things going on, strange. We're connected to a guy called Mogi Bayat, who's a French-Iranian agent who operates in northern France and Belgium, basically, and he's up on a charge in February or March in Belgian courts. He's always, kind of one court case away from Nick, and he's very much connected to the club. So it's like there's a lot of things that we don't really like about the way that the club is going, but we're looking at it and going, never mind the quality, feel the results at the moment and see what we can do. As it is, Bilic is very easy to like. He's very straight speaking, and he's putting together seemingly a team who's done very well. The Luton game, as we started, will win him a whole lot of time, a whole lot of patience, and a whole lot of credibility.
In fairness, in fairness, though, there's been more British prime ministers this season than Watford managers, so you got to take some heart from that.
We did a pre-show with the Luton one, and two of the local DJs on the local BBC radio came on, Andy and Justin. And we did say when we turned to Justin, they said, well, Luton are adopting a traditional, some say old-fashioned methodology of management, which is keeping them for more than a fortnight. Whereas we are going with the full home office kind of approach of you'll be changing this afternoon, don't worry.
Yeah.
But the way you've been going, it's like the way we used to go. I think we had 11 managers in 10 years, and you're going through them like, I don't know, like a bag of Maltesers, isn't you? It's like constant. Well, we'll eat that one now. We'll spit that one, or whatever. It's like
Yeah,
it's just daft. I mean, a bit of stability like we've had the last 5 years has been absolutely superb for our club. You know, having Mark Robins there, second time around, and he's stuck with us now. He's putting up with all the rubbish on and off the pitch, and especially off the pitch. I don't know how he's put up with it, to be honest with you, because if that was me, I'd be gone ages ago. But you're going through that stage. Surely the owners have got to realise you need stability in a club to move it forward even more than what it is.
But this is where I come back to the point I was starting to make earlier on. I drifted off to somewhere else. But it's the fact that under this Pozzo regime, with all of this strange stuff, we've had 6 years in the Premiership. We've mirrored what we did with Graham Taylor. We've had an FA Cup final, which we had with Graham Taylor. Granted, we only lost that one 2-0. This one we lost 6-0. Yeah, okay. But but we've seen players that we haven't, and we're still Watford. You know, we still, I can go into the high street and I'll probably see as many Tottenham, Chelsea, Arsenal, and obviously Man United still T-shirts and Man City T-shirts as I will Watford, unless it's a match day, because that's where we are. We know a lot of our season ticket holders are also season ticket holders at one of those three, main London clubs or West Ham. It's that issue. It's not that kind of, not the kind of same thing I imagine. I mean, the last time I went to Cov was, it always felt and feels like, it's a one club town. And, I imagine somebody would be deeply frowned upon if they were walking down in a sky blue and realised it was Manchester City on it. I should hope they would be, definitely. Whereas here it's, you're part of the commuter belt. It adapts and changes.
One for the fans, because I know you guys shoot off soon. One for the fans. You don't sell alcohol in the ground for the away fans. Where's the best pubs for the away fans to go on Saturday when they all travel down by coach because there's no trains this weekend?
Okay, so we the home fans will be in either the Bunker or the Red Lion, which is right outside. If you come in on the high street, it's probably the best one, which is the Wetherspoons Moon Under the Water, which is huge. It's got all the capacity that you'll need. It's where all the when we had the recent Derby game, it was where all the Luton fans went. They tend to seem to be fairly okay if it's kind of mix and match. We're Watford. Unless you're Luton, nobody's really going to have an argument with anybody. So yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
brilliant. That's where we'll meet then, Mark.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll go predictions for this game. So we'll go Pete, and we'll go Glenn, we'll go Miles, and I'll go me last. So Pete, what's your prediction for the game?
Oh, you see, I'm normally the referee on our prediction ones. I normally manage to sidestep this and avoid it. I'll go 2-1 Watford. I thought that last night's game was going to be the tricky one because of all the injuries we've had. I think we'll be strengthened. I think if Keenan Davis comes in, I think we might have a bit too much for you up front. We've just got a ridiculous forward line that when it turns up, it can really go. If you turn up and you have a player who plays right in front of the back four, sometimes that's caused us problems. Swansea did a great job on us like that. I'll go 2-1.
Miles, what's your view?
Well, I went for a defeat Tuesday night, so maybe that'll work for me. I'm going to go 0-0 at half-time, 1-0 win Sky Blues.
I like the optimism. I really like hearing that. Glenn, what's your view?
I think it'll be 3-2 either way. I think Cov might nick it 3-2. I think there'll be goals. I don't think you'll stop Watford scoring with their firepower, but I think Pete will admit Watford do leak goals. I think we've got players who could cause them some problems, and I quite like if Gyökeres starts, I think he'll be a good test to their defence, and I quite like see Keenan Davis against Panzo. I think that'll be a good little battle, considering they've both been at Forest, haven't they? So that'll be an interesting little matchup.
Yeah. I think we're up against it personally. I think Watford are strong favourites. I think we're playing at a really, really bad time. 3 wins on the spin. I think if we get a point at Watford, I'll be absolutely delighted with that. Personally, I think what we should do really is I play probably a 5 midfield. I'd actually drop Alan, and I'd go. I'd have thought about this whether to move Eccles into centre midfield and then Kane right back. But then my concern is how do we handle Ismail Assar, and you got Sema on the other side, and there to me. I remember the game he played Watford in the League Cup. I think it was 2 or 3 seasons back. I think Watford won like 5-0. And I think, if memory serves you right, Sarr ran the show completely. He was fantastic. Yeah. And for me, he. I mean, they've got a lot of, as Pete was saying earlier, with all the players, they've got a lot of quality there. And I just, that for me is a real concern, particularly with our right back. We haven't got no Fankasi Dabo, and I feel we're up against it. So I think I'm going to go 3-1 Watford. I don't think we'll get anything this game. I think our best chance really is to try and contain Watford. I would probably, I could take what Glenn was saying earlier about maybe dropping Gyökeres. Personally speaking, we've got to play our best players because we every point's important. So we've got to try and get something. But I think it's gonna be a tough game for us. Really do. If we get a point, I'll be ecstatic.
The game you're referencing there, I think we won it 3-0, and Sarr got his goal, and it was his first game. Yeah. And there was a moment I think it was in the second half, because he scored in the first half in front of you guys, where the ball was played out to him, and he was on like the intersection of the halfway line and the sideline, and the ball got played to him, and he took a touch that was just atrocious, and you thought, oh my God, that's going to go out over the goal line. Yeah. And then he just went mip, whoosh, and we all went, oh Christ, what have we got here? Yeah. He just flew, and it was like over 30 yards. He will beat absolutely anybody. Our problem is now he doesn't want to go and beat his player. No idea why, because he can do it for fun. But pushing it and going is like, no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the ball and I'm just going to hold it. Now, at home, he's been a little bit more tricky. And as I say, he can cut in and go for it. But he's equally able to go down the left-hand side as well. So hopefully a little bit more of what you saw might be something that you're having to worry and contend with. I hope, obviously. Hopefully you're not, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I think from our point of view, I think we've got to start Callum O'Hare, him and Gyökeres. I don't think we should go too attacking. I think we've got to go 3 across midfield. I'd be tempted to go Todd Kane right back. I know what I think what Miles and Glenn was saying earlier about his ability not to track back as well, but I just think we've got to play Eccles in his better position. Playing midfield, I thought he was tremendous at Cardiff early in the season, and we've got to try and frustrate him. If we can keep it 0-0 and keep with the away side, we've got to keep Watford quiet. We've got to keep it 0-0. It should be nice and solid, and then hopefully we can, if we get a nick a goal, you never know. But I think that for all intents and purposes, this is going to be a really tough game for us. I think any point is a bonus for me, because I think I look at the next 2 games. We've got Wigan at home. We've got to look to target 3 points against them. And in QPR, well, QPR, as Glenn said earlier, we owe them something. We've got to beat QPR, because I'm fed up for 6 the back teeth of losing to them. So that's another game it'd be nice to win. So yeah, let's just see what happens. But no, it's been great to have you on, Pete, and it's been really fascinating talking to you. And I wish you luck after this game. So yeah,
likewise, absolutely. Yeah. I hope you're going to be wearing your rather super, home kit rather than the away ones, because it's I'm old enough to remember when you actually wore it originally. And I hate it when teams come and for no apparent reason, and we do it as well, suddenly go, no, we're going to wear our non-traditional colours. Just wrong.
Yeah, so, no, I agree. I think we'll be sky blue, don't worry.
Good stuff. Safe journey, everybody. But thank you very much for having us on, guys.
Cheers, Pete.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. Great stuff. Cheers, mate.
Good luck after Saturday.
Yeah, you too. Cool. Okay, so the last thing we want to bring up to the table is competition, Tommy Hutchinson competition. Deadline is Sunday at 7:00. Competition question, shall I say, is which club did we sign Tommy Hutchinson from? So that's the competition question. Deadline is 7 p.m. on Sunday. So to enter, just send us a message on either Facebook or DM us, send us a direct message on Twitter or Instagram. We've also got an email address, skybluefanstv@gmail.com. So that's for your chance to win a signed copy of Tommy Hutchinson's book. What's the name of the book again, Miles? I've forgotten what it's called. Was it Hutch, I think, wasn't it?
Hutch.
Belief. Belief and something. I can't remember. It's gone.
No,
it's gone out of my head.
Yeah.
Belief and anyway, Hutch, belief and something.
Yeah. Signed copy of his autobiography, so it'll be a great read. So I mean, you heard what Pete said. I'm I'm always ever the pessimist, I guess, but you never know. I mean, we could go to Watford and turn them over. Let's hope we can do. Let's face it, we won our last away game, so why not? You know, be positive.
It's a championship. It's a championship. It's madness. Well, you never know what's going to happen.
Well, you think Burnley nearly got done over last night if it weren't for the referee adding on 10 minutes. So, you know, they were losing 2-1. So anything can happen, like Glenn said. And it's a funny old league, isn't it, to be honest with you? But Glenn said earlier on, it's a free hit. Yeah, it is a free hit all day long. You may as well go there, give it a good go. If you lose 4-0, you lose 4-0. But, you know, if you come away winning it 2-0, 3-0, happy days. I think if we play it like we did Tuesday night, pass the ball, don't let the occasion get to the players. If we calm, pass the ball like we do, put the high press on, it's possible we could do them. It really is. Yeah, definitely. And with the good news that we've had this week, that, you know, the rest of up until the winter break, we're going to be able to play the last 2 home games as well before the World Cup, which is nice. Operations of the ground still going on. So the players are going to be buoyant, especially after the nice little win on Tuesday night. Who's to say we can't go and beat? I think they're 6th now, aren't they?
They're in the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, of course. As I say, we're playing not at the time.
They've lost. They drew with Birmingham. They lost to. They drew with Rotherham. They lost to Blackburn. They drew with Sunderland. They lost to Swansea. Lost to Blackpool. Lost to Millwall. They're beatable, but they are good. They are good. Their front 4 could cause us a lot of trouble. But it's just, you don't know. Ismail Starr might have one eye on the World Cup. You look at the players now; are getting injured. Like I say, Chilwell's gone down. There's only a couple of weeks. If he's got someone who gets stuck into him and clatters him one, will he fancy it? So maybe there's a case of going to Todd Kane or Bidwell, just give him a little hello, and then we'll see how he fancy it. So you don't know. It's been a weird week.
I don't think he'll play Fads. I think, like Glenn's just said about their front line, that they're so quick. He'll probably play Doyle, being younger legs, and Panzo Tuesday night didn't let anyone turn him. So, I think you could be in for a nice little away win. And I've said this a number of times before. Cardiff, I said I'd take 15 points between Cardiff and the World Cup break. We're on 13. So was it 4? No, we're on 14. So take it all day long now.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, we just got to keep it going because you can't. You've got to try and win every game. I think the other thing we haven't spoke about is actually Hamer's fitness. We've got to hope he's going to be fit because obviously he came off on Tuesday night as well. So
it was a dead leg, I think.
Yeah,
I think it was a dead leg.
Hamer will be all right. I think he said Waghorn and Dabo were 6 to 8 weeks, but he thinks it'll be near 6 weeks. So we might just about have them back by probably just maybe before Christmas. Which if we can get them back, it'll be it'll give us a bit of an options. But yeah, I'm quite confident. May as well go there and try and win. That's the thing. Where we are. Wins are what's going to get us up the table. So, I mean, who expects us to go to Fulham and win last season? And they're similar. So you don't know.
Last but not least, you got a live show, Miles, at Vicarage Road on Saturday.
Yeah. So I think live show outside Vicarage Road, and then in the concourse. So I think everyone will be outside. So we might just do it from outside this weekend because I don't think there'll be many in the concourse. There'll probably be more down the pubs and things. And I think we're all meeting up, so we'll get everyone on it this weekend, hopefully. Yeah. And we'll all have a little word live from outside the ground. So it's going to be exciting. The Stoke one was fantastic. So let's just hope Vicarage Road is, and being such a great ground like it is, as like Pete was saying, it is a lovely, lovely ground for an old stadium. They've really looked after it. They've done it up. It looks the biz. I wish we had kept Highfield Road and done what they've done to Vicarage Road because they have really done a fantastic job of that ground. It's really nice inside as well.
Yeah. Well, I hope it'll be a lovely result for us, more's the point. So,
we'll be loud and proud. I know that's the one thing.
What time you live on Saturday? Just for those who might want to come and speak.
Yeah, so we'll be going live at 2 p.m.
Okay.
So you can all tune in, and if you can't make it, get the experience outside the ground. Because as I say, Stoke was electric, and I think this week's going to be the same. I reckon.
Yeah,
it's going to be brilliant. It's going to be superb.
Yeah, it's been my first game for a couple of weeks actually, so I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, can't wait, and fingers crossed we can get those precious 3 points. So, yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So that's Saturday, and then we've got another podcast on Sunday night. Hopefully, we're talking about a magnificent result at Watford, and then we'll have a Wigan fan on to preview Wigan on Tuesday night. Then we've got another show on Wednesday. We've got Ben Kosky on, who's the actual program editor at QPR, so he'll give us the lowdown on QPR. So yeah, there's a lot of things to look forward to. So stay tuned for that. Want to extend my thanks to Miles and Glenn. Thanks for thanks tonight, and good to look forward to listening to your show on Saturday. So look forward to that. So yeah, thanks to everyone for listening. Play up Sky Blues, and we'll speak to you. Miles speak to you actually on Saturday. So thanks everyone, and good night.
Good night.
Good night.